Hey guys, so for those of you that missed the live stream class, I'm just going to do a condensed version of this week's lesson. Session 2, I don't know if y'all can see that. So session 2, it's about complex text and finding multiple central ideas within key sections. So last week, if you remember, we focused on 3 things. We focused on identifying the theme, identifying the social issue, and identifying the central idea in each section. So we're going to continue to do that, but what we're going to have to do is prove, instead of just proving the theme is in that one section, you have to prove that that theme is continuing through the story. Not just that you found it in chapter 2 and that's it. You have to think, okay, I saw it in chapter 2, I saw it in chapter 6, it's in chapter 24, and these are the examples of it from the passage. So you're going to have to be able to not just cite one theme and go, or one social issue and that's it. You're going to have to prove that that social issue, that theme, that central idea continues over time. So what this lesson starts with is it says to share what you know about the social issues, themes, and central ideas from the book so far. Okay, if you had to think social issues for Louis has had bullying, there's been discrimination because he's Italian. Those are the main things, and obviously theft, and that was him. So you've got those 3 social issues that you've seen in a couple of chapters so far, but only like one example of each one. That I've pointed out at least. You've had the theme of never giving up. Even the worst person can turn their life around. Some kind of theme like that. And the central idea of the author informing readers about how dramatic things in Louis's life makes him change. Dramatic events that happen. Okay, so most of you have when we went in class, most people were identifying several things that the text was teaching. You found central ideas in one section, then you found it in a second section, then you found it in a third. So it was constantly changing. But you have to think that the books you're reading have a lot of complexity, and so that you're going to have to prove that central idea or theme or social issue over time. So the lesson, we're on this slide. So the lesson today is that nonfiction books suggest multiple ideas in and across chapters and sections. To read this book well, readers don't just settle on 1 or 2 obvious ideas to follow. You have to read and reread and ask yourself, what does this imply, and what other issues does this part suggest? I have an example for you. So if you remember from the last session, the first session that we did, we read a chapter from, we read a chapter from a book about women who were helping with NASA, African American women, and they ended up, because of those mathematicians, that's the only reason why NASA was able to launch people into space the way that they did. Okay, so this is an excerpt that we read last week. And so we read that excerpt and we came up with a central idea based on the excerpt. So this excerpt is about war work. In the 1940s, the United States government spread the word far and wide that it was hiring. Bulletins listed civil service jobs, non-military government jobs, plastered the walls at local post office. And it was on a trip to the Farmville post office during the spring of 1943 that Dorothy saw for the notice for the laundry job at Camp Pickett. But as she glanced over the other bulletins, the word mathematics caught her eye. She looked more closely and learned that a federal agency in Hampton, Virginia was looking for women to fill a number of mathematical jobs at a facility specializing in development of airplanes. Dorothy assumed that the bulletin was meant for the eyes of the white, well-to-do students in the all-female state teachers college in Farmville. It had never occurred to her that the Langley Memorial Aeronautical Laboratory would accept an application from an African-American woman. So when we read this section the first time, the central idea that we got was the authors informing readers that World War II brought more job opportunities, because that's the main thing of this section, is that World War II brings more job opportunities and hope to African American men and women. Okay, that's the central idea. But the thing is, you have to be able to dig deeper in a specific text and think, okay, what else is it implying? What else is it showing me? What else does this section suggest? So when we looked back at it, Cade actually is the one that caught this, but Cade goes, it's something about race. So if you think about it, this section, if you look, it says, it never occurred to her that the Langley Memorial Aeronautical Laboratory would accept an application from an African American woman. That sentence suggests that discrimination is widespread at the time. So instead of just being okay with finding one thing and moving on, Cade found the idea of discrimination. So what we did is we made it into a theme. So if you look at this page, I'm trying to see what slide it's on. It is taking forever. Slide 7. We're on slide 7. So what we did is we just added it more to our list of possible themes, central ideas, and social issues. So the theme that we came up with already was that hard work is not rewarded with equality. You should seize opportunities that come your way. Now we've come up with another one. Discrimination can be widespread. So what we did was we read a passage and we looked back and see if we could find anything deeper within that passage. Okay? So what we're going to have to do in our work is we're going to have to go back this week and we're going to have to dig deeper and see if we can find more examples of the same theme so that we can trace it across the text or central idea or social issue. Okay, so I've got another example. In the video that we watched with Hidden Figures, that's the name of the book, Hidden Figures. I couldn't remember. For the life of me, I couldn't remember. So the theme, if we think about that theme, discrimination is widespread, we dug deeper, we found another theme. We found one example of it. Her looking at that sign and thinking, they wouldn't want me, I'm an African American woman. That's one example. But what you have to be able to do is dig deep and look back through the text to see if there were other examples that you can find from the beginning of the story all the way to the end. So here's the example. If you think about the video that we watched in the first session, what happened in that video with Hidden Figures? She was in the library and what happened? That's right. She got kicked out of the library because she was black. She couldn't check out any books because she was black. She was escorted by the police out of the library, and on top of that, she had to sit in the back of the bus because she was black. So those are all examples that I could add. If I was making a list of different examples I saw from the text of social issues on or the theme of discrimination, I would add all of those to my list. Kicked out of the library, that's one. Not being able to check out books, that's one. Escorted by the police, that's one. Getting on the back of the bus, that's another. And then the last one, her not even applying for that job because she knows that they don't want her because of her race. So all of those things I would add to a list of examples of that theme. All right, now if I had to try a theme from Unbroken, where I came up with a theme, so I would come up with a theme and then I would come up with some examples of that theme that I've seen so far. Okay, so the theme that I came up with, and I don't know if you can see it, it's over here on the side. This screen is horrible. Okay, so let's say that that's your theme. Anyone can make a change no matter how bad they've been. That's my theme that I'm going with. All right, what I have to do is I have to look back over the text and see if there are any examples from the passages that I've read that would support this theme. Any examples from the text? Okay. So I thought of, so anyone can make a change no matter how bad they've been. I thought back to chapter 2 when Louis runs away on the train. He ends up giving in, coming back, and running track and becoming a superstar because of his track record. So that would be an example of him making a change, no matter how bad he's been. Okay? You have not read this part yet. So I had to think, okay, where I am in the book is I'm a little farther ahead of y'all, just rereading, and I'm in like chapters 17 and 18. But in chapter 15, I had another character. As I was reading, I was thinking of this theme that anybody can change no matter how bad they've been. In chapter 15, I think, is when Louis and his crew are stranded in the middle of the ocean. And his friend, who's also in the life raft with him, Mac does something, and I can't tell you what, but Mac endangers the lives of all of them by something he does. And it's horrible if you think about doing that to your friends. So I'm not going to tell you what it is. But anyway, so Mac does something horrible, and then he ends up, by the end of his part in the book, he redeems himself. It's kind of almost like Billy from Stranger Things in season 3, when he is real bad, and then he redeems himself in the end by sacrificing himself for Max. Same thing. So what I did is I picked not just one, but I picked 2 different examples from the story on that same theme. If you have any more questions about how to figure that out, I've got a short little mini lesson video on how to trace a theme, central idea, or social issue through a text. Okay, so what you're going to do, this is your assignment for this week. You've got another chart. Hooray, hooray. You have another chart where you're not just listing new themes that you find. You are going to be, in this chart, you're going to be thinking about the old themes that you found, the ones that you had in your previous assignments, and then you're going to be tracing them as the story goes on. So like, actually the example that I used was, I think, from Carly, the you can change no matter how bad you've been. That's a theme that I got from her, that she started with at the beginning of her passages, or at the beginning of her chapters, and she just followed it as the theme went. So what you'll do is whatever examples you put in here from last week in your little table, I don't know if you can see it, whatever examples you put in there, you're going to add these in, and you're going to find evidence from the story, like 3 or 4 examples at least in each one, where you're trying to prove that theme. And you've got to prove that that theme keeps coming up over and over in the story, or you have to prove that that social issue keeps coming up over and over in the story. So you have to prove it through putting the evidence from the passage there. So use your themes and social issues and central ideas that you have, and your goal this week is to find examples from the story that will go underneath that theme, social issue, or central idea. Okie doke. And I have an example here. You probably can't see it from here, but just in case you're unsure of what I'm asking for, I've got an example provided for you in the notes, so you can access that at any time. You can look at it even when you're doing your assignment. I don't care. But anyway, all right, well, I will talk to y'all later this week. Remember, I will be available Wednesday and Friday of this week to help with any questions that you have. Make sure you check the time that your class has, the specific time I've set aside for your class. So if you need an individual conference to help, you figure out what's going on. I think first period and fourth period are from 1 o'clock to 1:30 on Wednesday, and second period and fifth period are from 1:30 to 2. So if you need to talk to me, I'll be live online, just one-on-one on Wednesday and Friday, same times. But I'll talk to y'all soon. Miss y'all.